listening to A Scary State. And this week we're talking about Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the plains. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie.
Let's get scary.
Also, happy 4-year anniversary.
Woohoo!
We're doing this 4 years.
4 years.
4 years of A Scary State. And if you've been here all those 4 years, thank you.
You're an OG.
Truly.
And we wouldn't be here without you 4 years later.
Aw.
We are, I think, 3 episodes away from 200.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3.
Yep.
Wow.
Big
Look at us.
milestones.
Really. It really is.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
One day.
Yeah, right. For now, it's a button.
For now, it's button.
I feel like I had to tell you something, and now I don't remember what it is.
It'll come to you.
Oh, I remember what I wanted to say, not
to you,
necessarily
yes.
tell you.
What?
That happy Eid. I don't know how to say the whole thing.
Oh.
To all those who celebrate.
Yeah.
Because we're recording this on Sunday, and I think it starts tonight at sundown into Monday, something like that. So yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's
Happy Eid.
Yeah, the end of Ramadan.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what I wanted to remember to say.
Oh, thank you. And then I'm sure you'll post about it as well.
Yes, if I remember. Memory's not been a good one. I was sick.
But you'll be off work, so you'll be like, why am I off work? Oh, yes.
True. True. Yeah, I'm going to sound a little extra congested and coffee today because I was sick.
Yeah. It's that time of year.
This is like the 3rd time I've gotten sick.
It is, which is wild because you went like a long time not getting sick during the year at all.
I think it's because it's like new place.
Could be.
You know?
The new germs.
New germs. Plus, these kids have been sick. I had one kid, he had been out for a few days, came back at lunch. I saw him. He was wearing a mask, which, like, shout out to my kids who wear a mask when they're sick.
Yes.
Love it. I saw him at lunch. Lunch finishes. It's probably like 45 minutes from the time I saw him to when I go into the classroom that he was going to be in, and he wasn't there. He was back at the nurse.
Oh, poor babe.
I felt so bad.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe my voice will sound sexy. It's got that rasp to it.
Reminds me of Phoebe on Friends when she has her sexy voice.
My sexy, raspy, snotty voice.
See, when you add snotty, it takes away some of the sexiness of it.
Well, because like I feel like it's not just like the raspiness, like you also hear the congested behind it, so it's not quite so sexy.
Is that a rappy voice or she's sick?
Both.
All right, should I jump into Oklahoma?
Please.
All right. Every state has a dark past. Westward expansion wiped out or greatly minimized the native tribes that called this country home long before European settlers stepped foot on this land. Oklahoma is no different than the rest of the Midwest. In the 1830s, the U.S. government began one of its darkest campaigns, the forced removal of Native American tribes from their homelands in the Southeast. Under the Indian Removal Act, signed by President Andrew Jackson, the Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw were pushed west to so-called Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. The Cherokee tried to fight back through the courts and even won a Supreme Court case, but their victory was ignored, of course.
Mm-hmm.
In 1838...
You know who he sounds like?
Who sounds like?
Andrew Jackson.
Who?
He, like, his presidency reminds me so much of Trump's presidency.
Yep.
And, like, all the shit that he did.
Indian Removal Act already. Yep.
Yeah, well, because, right, exactly. Already he's ignoring a Supreme Court ruling that he can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't know better, I would say that Trump is a descendant. The vibes are so similar.
Vibes are there.
And I really would like to petition to take Jackson off of whatever bill he's on. I'm like, I'm sure that there's presidents that have done plenty of problematic things, but he was just like overall terrible. So I really don't think he should be put on any money.
No, I agree.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, I will. In 1838, over 16,000 Cherokee were marched more than 1,000 miles at gunpoint, facing hunger, disease, and bitter cold. Around 4,000 died. Other tribes suffered similar horrors. The Trail of Tears wasn't just about relocation, it was cultural destruction. Sacred lands were taken, languages lost, and entire communities fractured. It remains a chilling reminder of how power and prejudice can erase entire nations. So if they were being led by gunpoint, does that mean that, like, the soldiers walking them would, like, switch off who was doing it? I don't really know how that whole we didn't learn much about that in school.
Yeah, no, I think, it would just be soldiers on horseback who would
Mm,
have the supplies that they needed to travel.
gotcha.
Maybe there was checkpoints where they would switch off, I don't really know, but, all I think about is General Custard or whatever,
Mhm. I
and
don't think
how
it's custard.
whatever the fuck his name is, he sucks anyway. Um, there's a famous painting of him, I think it's the, Battle Wounded Knee? I wanna say it's that, where he gets maybe it's not Wounded Knee. There's something where he gets wiped out,
Mhm.
like, his people and it makes him look like the martyr, the victim, when really, like, the Trail of Tears had already happened. I think Wounded Knee had already like, there was, like, all these things, but the painting is just one of those interesting historical context
Yeah,
of when you look at it, the way it's being portrayed is that he's the victim,
right.
and obviously,
Ooh, speaking of that,
yes.
like, someone being the victim, we
That's
watched
not actually the victim?
right, no, yeah.
Okay.
We watched such a good movie last night called Strange Darling,
Mm.
and I don't wanna talk about it on here because it's so good, but it has a huge twist like that in it.
Speaking of movies, Death of a Unicorn, is that scary?
Okay, I don't think so because it has Paul Rudd and it has Jenna Ortega.
Right. Okay, so that's another one I'm gonna need you to watch,
Okay,
and I'm gonna need you to let me know if I can watch it
okay,
because it looks really interesting, and I think it might be kinda funny.
but I think you would like Strange Darling
Okay, that
because
sounds scary.
it's more of a thriller, not a scary movie. So you like your Criminal Minds and you like your, like, Law& and Order stuff, it's this.
Mhm.
Like that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you when we're done recording about what it's about, it's so good.
okay.
We watched it last night, and,
So you
like,
can ruin it for me, just not everybody else?
are you gonna watch it?
I don't know. Maybe. I watched that one movie and you were real proud of me.
You watched it because we made you watch it.
No, because it was an action movie. That's what I told myself. Anything that has, like, guns and military, I'm like, "That's not a scary movie, that's an action
You
movie."
definitely won't watch this movie on your own.
Okay, so then don't ruin it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, let me check out the vibes first, and I'll let you know.
Okay. Alright, fine.
You're not good at giving me the vibes.
No, I'm really not.
So, let me do that first.
I'm not because that one movie, Nosferatu, our one friend was like, "Hey, can you ask how Lauren thought of the movie?" And I said, "It's eerie, it's creepy, but it's not scary."
Like, I would say in the last couple of years, you have finally been able to tell me whether or not I would think something is
See,
spicy.
I know you now. But so that one friend was like, "Lauren, I have a bone to pick with you." I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "You said Nosferatu was not scary." I said, "It's not scary." She goes, "I was terrified." And I
Yeah,
was like, "I told your friend who told you that I'm not a good judge
yeah,
because I don't think things are scary."
yeah. So oh, also, we have to watch that Blink movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I still
yeah.
wanna watch that.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay, back to
So,
this.
yeah, you have some homework.
Oh, darn. Often overlooked in the story of the Trail of Tears is the presence of African Americans, both enslaved and free, who were forced to make that same deadly journey.
I was today years old when I learned about this. Like, I was writing this, and this was the first time that I had learned about this.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And then there's more. Just keep going.
Some native tribes had adopted the practice of enslaving Black people. So, and wow,
I did not know that.
that's really awful.
Right? But, like, that was like, literally, as I was looking this up, I think I did this on Friday,
Hmm.
first time I ever learned it.
Wow.
Now, I will say, as you'll read, the Native Americans, after the Civil War was over and Black people were supposed to be given their freedom, they were a lot better about it than we were. And, like, actually gave it to them and, like, actually gave them opportunities
Hmm.
and, like, shared their land and all that kinda good stuff.
Okay.
So, anyway, sorry, keep reading.
Okay.
I was like, as I was reading this, I was like, "Who do I tell? I cannot wait until Sunday to talk to somebody about this. I did not know. This is crazy."
Yeah, that is crazy. So, when the native tribes were removed, their enslaved laborers were taken with them, marching, hauling, suffering side by side, yet forgotten in most retellings. Others were freedmen, formerly enslaved or born free within tribal nations, some of whom had deep ties through marriage or culture. After relocation, slavery continued in Indian Territory until the Civil War. And even after emancipation, Black citizens, known as the freedmen of the five tribes, were often denied land, rights, and recognition, especially after Oklahoma became a state in 1907.
Hold on, let me caveat that. When America wanted to expand westward, they were called the five civilized tribes. Is what they called them, because of course, like, you couldn't be considered civilized unless you assimilated to white culture,
Naturally.
Christianity, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But what it really was is that, because you'll see in this next quote that I put in there, the Native Americans were like Black people had positions of power within the tribe, like tribal leaders and things like that. Like, they shared their land. It wasn't until white folks start coming in and start trying to take the land from Native Americans that they're like, okay, well, we got to look out for ourselves. Sorry, not sorry. Then they take it back.
Oh.
So while it says denied land rights, blah, 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 that was once Oklahoma was starting to become a state and more white people were like moving to the homestead and blah, 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 taking the land. They were the first to go.
Oh.
So just wanted to caveat that. That technically they did share first.
Still, Black communities thrived, founding towns like Boley and Langston, building lives amid erasure. Their resilience remains a powerful, if often hidden part of Oklahoma's legacy. Kenzie thinks this quote from the Smithsonian Magazine sums up the ignorance of white men politicians both back then and to this day. Would you like to read it?
Sure. Quote, in 1893, former Massachusetts Senator Henry Dawes led a federal commission to compel the five tribes to divide their communally thank you, owned lands into individually owned
allotments.
Thank you. So this is when they were like, ooh, we got to take that back.
Yeah.
Dawes considered himself a, quote, friend of the Indians, as white humanitarians of the era were called. He wasn't a humanitarian. But his approach to helping Native Americans hinged on their assimilation into white America's culture and economic system. He was mystified by Native Americans' practice of sharing resources without trying to exploit them for personal profit. Mystified.
It's just disgusting.
Mystified.
And where he's like, oh, they didn't exploit it for personal gain? Like, no.
Honestly, it's things like that I always think to myself, I would love if a historian or someone who's like good at that, who can take the incidences of the past, and if we were to rewrite them to where when the Europeans came, they weren't such dickheads.
Right.
You know, and we settled in peace and we learned from the Native Americans and all, you know, brought the new technologies over and et cetera, et cetera. And had we taken what the Native Americans were trying to teach us and learned from it and incorporated that into our way of life, how different our lives would be today.
Oh, drastically.
It's just, I'm so curious because, like, I hear constantly, like, I've watched a ton of nature documentaries and things like that. And of course, they bring in Indigenous people and their practices and how, especially in Australia, they've started using those practices in order to help with the environment.
Right.
Farming uses them.
Right.
Or else, why do you think we had the Dust Bowl?
Right.
Whose fault was that? Ours?
100%.
You know? And so when we go back and look at their way of doing things and then incorporate it, I don't know. And then you hear people like that, mystified that they wouldn't exploit them for personal profit.
Like, that's just disgusting.
Like, that greed runs so deep that you can't even possibly understand that someone would be willing to help someone else out just out of the goodness of their heart.
Right. Right.
So, yeah. So I just felt like that was a very mic drop.
Yeah.
Quote. Really makes you think.
No, I agree.
More dark history, please.
In 1921, Tulsa's Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, was one of the wealthiest Black communities in America. But on May 31st, after a Black teen was falsely accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob erupted in violence. Did we talk about this?
We talked about another one that happened in Florida for the same reason. But it was the Rosewood Massacre. Same idea, though.
Yep. Over 18 hours, Greenwood was looted, burned, and bombed from the sky. Up to 300 people were killed, 35 city blocks were destroyed, and thousands were left homeless. Survivors were detained in camps. No one was ever held accountable. For decades, the Tulsa Massacre was buried, left out of textbooks, denied by officials, and silenced by fear. Only recently has it begun to receive the recognition it deserves. Tulsa is a chilling reminder that even success and wealth can't shield Black Americans from white violence, and that systemic racism isn't just written in laws, but it's what's erased from history.
Mic drop. It's like, we want you to, you need to contribute to society. You need to be successful,
but not successful.
Not that successful.
Right.
Not more successful than me.
Right. Not more successful than how successful we are.
Right. Like,
and if it's dropping for us, it needs to drop for you too.
Right. I need to thrive. You can't thrive though.
Right.
But shame on you for not thriving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not contributing more.
Right. Stupid.
In the late 1800s, before Oklahoma was a state, the territory was a hotbed for outlaws, and few were more infamous than the Doolin-Dalton Gang, also known as the Wild Bunch. Led by Bill Doolin, or is it Dolan?
I would say Doolin.
Okay, cool.
Like Doolittle.
Yeah, exactly. Led by Bill Doolin, the gang was made up of former members of the notorious Dalton Gang. They robbed banks, trains, and stagecoaches across the region, becoming legends in the process. Towns like Ingalls and Perry became battlegrounds between lawmen and outlaws, with bloody shootouts that left civilians caught in the crossfire. But their fame came with a price. The U.S. Marshals, especially a group known as the Three Guardsmen, hunted the Wild Bunch relentlessly. By the late 1890s, most of the gang was dead, including Dolan, who was shot down in a hail of gunfire. Were the Three Guardsmen, were there only 3 of them? I don't know. It could be. It could not be. Sometimes things don't make sense.
I'm going to go ahead and assume yes.
See, we can assume, but sometimes it's not always the assumptions.
Okay.
Like, wasn't the 100-Year War or 100 Years War longer than 100 years? Thank you.
No, it was shorter than 100 years.
Okay, shorter than 100 years. See?
The Three Guardsmen is a name popularized in Old West literature describing 3 lawmen who became legendary in their pursuit of many outlaws of the late 19th century.
Okay, so theirs was truly a description of their thing.
I think it's kind of like the Three Musketeers.
We don't know, Mackenzie. In September 1893, the town of Ingalls, Oklahoma Territory erupted into chaos. U.S. Marshals... Oh, this is going on about the shootout. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Marshals had tracked down the Doolin-Dalton gang to a saloon there, leading to a fierce daylight shootout. That's funny, daylight shootout. That left 9 people dead, including 3 lawmen and several outlaws. Because it's just not like just a shootout. Like, it could be a nighttime shootout, but no, they had to make sure we knew it was a daylight shootout. I just think that's interesting. Interesting choice of words. Okay. Civilian watched or ran as bullets flew through town. One outlaw used a child as a human shield.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's not crazy given who they are, but like...
It's also not crazy given the unelected official who was using the same thing. Another rode through the middle of town firing 2 pistols movie style, but this wasn't Hollywood. It was a deadly showdown, and it showed just how lawless and violent Oklahoma's frontier towns could be.
Every time I see Frontier, I think of your name.
Thank you. Yeah, actually. When we did Taekwondo, we were called Frontier. Just like as a joke. So just across the border in Fort Smith, Arkansas, Judge Isaac Parker ruled over the U.S. District Court for the Western District, which had jurisdiction over Indian Territory. Known as the hanging judge, Parker sentenced 160 people to death during his time on the bench, often presiding over cases involving murder, robbery, and frontier justice. His courtroom was the last stop for many outlaws from Oklahoma Territory. But Parker was more complex than his nickname. He actually opposed the death penalty, he just enforced the law as written. His court was also one of the few where Black and Native witnesses were allowed to testify against white defendants. Still, Fort Smith's gallows earned their reputation, and for many fugitives from Oklahoma, a trip to Parker's court was a one-way ticket to the noose. That is kind of scary.
Yes.
The Wild West wasn't all...
not known as a happy state.
Oh, Kenzie.
Me.
The Wild West wasn't all white hats and white men. In fact, up to a quarter of all cowboys were Black, many of them formerly enslaved or descendants of enslaved people who found freedom and opportunity on the range. Oklahoma was also home to legendary Black lawmen like Bass Reeves, one of the first Black U.S. deputy marshals west of the Mississippi.
I do remember learning about him.
West of the Mississippi. Reeves is said to have arrested over 3,000 criminals, often using disguises, decoys, and serious grit to bring fugitives to justice. Though left out of most cowboy lore, Black cowboys, ranchers, and marshals were essential to settling Oklahoma, navigating a land still full of danger, opportunity, and deep racial divides. I talk a little bit about the lawlessness in my topic.
No. Would that be Oklahoma or West Virginia?
I think it could fit for both. But I think it's more like, because that's a banjo. It's more like the
I
I think it's more the backwoods of or West Virginia.
Doesn't that sound like the Wild West? I just can't whistle.
That's what you were doing. Okay. A little bit.
Ah!
A little bit.
You just see the tumbleweed.
Like our cowboy-themed birthday,
Yeah.
where we had a cowboy hat. The invitation had a little tumbleweed on it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did.
Oh my god, I did see a tumbleweed the other day. I was walking to Orange Theory, and there was, like, this thing. It was a really windy day. There's this thing tumbling in the street, and it looked like a tumbleweed, and I was like, "I don't think that's what that is, but I think it
I
is."
bet it was tumble trash.
No, it wasn't trash.
Are you sure?
It looked just like a tumbleweed, and I was gonna take a picture, but I was cold, so I didn't. I just kinda quickly walked into Orange Theory.
Yeah, I'm as much as I'm thrilled that it's 80 degrees today, it's also like, ooh, it's March and it's already 80. Does that mean like by June it's gonna be like 180?
Probably. We
Like,
went on a walk
that's
yesterday when we
scary.
got home, and I could already feel myself starting to get bit by bugs,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, we're already starting."
they're coming.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's gonna be thunderstorm season too, so Roy hates that.
Yeah.
Oh boy. We're in for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do, do, do.
All right, Mackenzie. What do you have in Oklahoma for me?
So my creative juices were not as flowy this week with being sick, so I asked ChatGPT to write an intro for my story for this episode. Intro music fades in. Eerie atmospheric. In the quiet countryside of western Oklahoma, there's a lonely stretch of road where whispers ride the wind and ghostly sightings send shivers down the spine. Locals call it Dead Woman's Crossing, a
Ooh.
place with a name as chilling as the story behind it. It's a tale of betrayal, murder, and a restless spirit said to linger near a wooden bridge, forever searching for justice, or maybe for revenge. Tonight, we're heading back to the year 1905, when a young mother vanished under mysterious circumstances, and the haunting truth began to unfold. So keep your lights on and maybe don't plan any late-night drives through Custer County, because this is the one Oklahoma mystery that refuses to stay buried. Theme music swells and fades out.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Dead Woman's Crossing is an unincorporated community located northeast of Weatherford in Custer County, Oklahoma. The area is characterized by its rural landscape, with Deer Creek running through it, over which a concrete bridge now stands. This bridge replaced an earlier wooden crossing and is commonly associated with the area's haunting moniker. Today, the area around Dead Woman's Crossing remains largely undeveloped, retaining its rural character. The concrete bridge over Deer Creek stands as a somber reminder of the past, with local legends and reports of paranormal activity adding to its mystique. Visitors have reported unexplained phenomena such as hearing of wagon wheels and a woman's screams. Though these accounts are anecdotal. So,
Are we gonna have a woman in white?
shh. Just wait. First, I gotta tell you who the woman is. On July 7th, 1905, 29-year-old Katie DeWitt James was a woman trying to start over. Recently separated from her husband, she packed up her belongings, scooped up her 1-year-old daughter, Lulu Bell, and boarded a train to Custer City, Oklahoma to visit relatives in Ripley.
Lulu Bell. That
Yeah.
is so cute.
Isn't it? She told her father she needed time and space and maybe a new beginning. But Katie would never reach her destination. She was last seen alive in Clinton, Oklahoma shortly after stepping off the train. That's where she met, or perhaps reconnected with, a woman named Mrs. Fanny Norton, who introduced herself as Mrs. Ham, but we're just going to call her Mrs. Norton.
Okay.
Mrs. Norton was a midwife, though some say she was also a sex worker with a questionable reputation and a history of erotic behavior. What's certain is that she offered to help Katie find a place to stay, claiming she could take her to a brother-in-law's home just outside of town. The two women, along with Katie's infant daughter, were seen leaving Clinton in a buggy that Miss Norton had borrowed from her brother-in-law, William Moore. They even briefly stopped by the Moore house. Mrs. Norton told Moore's wife that they were going to Hydro, about 15 miles away, but Katie and Lulu Bell never made it there.
Naturally.
Later that same day, Mrs. Norton returned to the Moore home, alone. Her story changed more than once. She claimed Katie had decided to go by on foot, or that she had just left near the creek, or that Katie found another form of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
But things weren't adding up. Then a few days later, Lulu Bell was discovered, alive and well, left with a farmer near Weatherford. She had been dropped off by a woman matching Mrs. Norton's description. As concern turned into suspicion, investigators began to dig. They eventually discovered that the buggy the two women were in had disappeared into a field near the creek for about 45 minutes. Witnesses claim they saw one woman driving out of the field at breakneck speed.
What's breakneck speed on a buggy?
Exactly. And that the woman was Mrs. Norton. After leaving the field, she went to the home of the farmer to drop off Lulu Bell. The baby had been wearing a dress that was covered in blood, and when Mrs. Norton returned with the horse and buggy, there was blood on one of the wheels.
Okay.
But the baby was fine.
Good.
It wasn't her blood.
Right. I figured.
Okay. Investigators discovered Mrs. Norton had returned to Clinton and gathered up her 4 children and then left for Guthrie, where she enrolled all 4 children in a private school. While there, she supposedly told friends that she didn't want anyone to know she was there, and then she proceeded to Shawnee and then told people the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Shawnee where investigators found Mrs. Norton and brought her in for questioning. Mrs. Norton denied everything, but the weight of the guilt may have caught up with her. Before she could be fully questioned or arrested, she ingested poison and died.
Oh.
Supposedly, her last words were that she hadn't done anything wrong. But about a month later, the truth, or at least a part of it, emerged in the most gruesome way. Katie's body was found near Deer Creek, just beneath a low wooden crossing not far from Weatherford, that bridge I was mentioning.
Yeah.
G.W. Cornell took his sons on a fishing trip to Deer Creek. When he got out of his buggy, he noticed a skull lying beside his foot.
Oh.
The body was about 3 feet away. So, skull, body, not attached.
Yeah. I got that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. There was a bullet hole in the skull behind the right ear, and a .38 caliber bullet was found in the skull.
So a bullet hole means that she probably got shot by a gun.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Guess what? The .38 revolver was found a few feet from her.
Oh, my God.
And it was later determined to belong to Mrs. Norton. How they did that back then, I don't know.
Right.
But I think they said like her lawyer or something like that. Because apparently
Her
Mrs.
lawyer what?
confirmed that it was her gun.
Well, he's not a very good lawyer on her side then, is he?
She was already dead.
Right. True. True.
Which, of course, everyone's like, she's guilty. She killed herself.
I mean, it sounds so suspicious.
Right. And also, like, she was the last person seen with her.
Right.
Breakneck speed.
Breakneck speed. When she leaves, she enters the field with someone, leaves without that someone.
Yeah.
All suspicious activity.
Very much so. Apparently, she had shot a bartender in a saloon, self-defense, I think. And that was the said lawyer.
Oh.
And that's how he knew it was her gun.
Oh.
It was the same one.
Interesting.
Something like that. Some 1905 lore. Based on clothing found nearby and a ring on the left hand, authorities determined that the body belonged to Katie DeWitt. During the coroner's jury, Katie's soon-to-be ex-husband was questioned on the stand for 3 to 4 hours. His alibi checked out, and despite his clear indifference to his wife's death, he was cleared of any wrongdoing. And get this. So, Katie was a boss-ass bitch. Okay. Before she even married her husband, she had already had her own little homestead, her own little farm that she owned. So when she was going to divorce her husband, when she was going to divorce her husband, I never believe this, she would have gotten it because it was hers. And he was a son of a bitch.
Probably not happy about that.
Right. And so now that she's gone, he got half of it.
Ew.
I think.
Did the daughter get the other half?
Well, he got custody of his daughter.
Oh, right. True.
Yeah.
Well, then what happened to the other half of it?
I think maybe it had gone to the daughter or something like that. And then he remarried a 17-year-old.
Ew.
And then no one knows what happened after that.
Also, what I thought was interesting is you said he was on the stand for 3 to 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. I know.
That sucks.
I know.
That's one, so long, so boring for the people who have to listen to it. And oh my God, after like an hour of being questioned, my brain would stop working. And I'd be like, you can keep asking me questions, but you're not going to get an answer other than I don't know.
That's why false confessions happen.
Right.
So, the jury returned with the decision that Mrs. James met her death, quote, by means of a gunshot wound fired from a .38 caliber pistol in the hands of a Mrs. Fanny Norton on or about the 8th day of July, 1905. The motive was believed to be robbery.
Mm-hmm.
But theories have lived on for over a century. Another theory suggests a broader conspiracy that Mrs. Norton was connected to maybe some unsavory figures in town. Could she have been paid to lure Katie away? The big question, people ask is, why did Katie go with this woman?
Right.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good place for us to think of first.
Right. This one it wasn't a blog, but it was like an article written in the 80s about it.
Mhm.
And the
Oh.
author had put some like, some good like thinking questions of like, okay, this is how it ended, but is this the actual result? Like, is she the only one involved?
Right.
Because they had done a search of the area, didn't find the body, then she dies. Then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, the body's there where they have already checked.
Hmm.
So if she had an accomplice,
Yeah.
if the accomplice, maybe possibly the husband, wanted it to seem like Katie just ran away.
Katie's husband or Miss Norton's husband?
Katie's husband.
Oh.
That Katie just like ran away. He wouldn't want the body found. But then Miss Norton died and everyone thinks it's her.
So then just kind of pin it on her.
Right. And he's got an alibi anyway.
Right.
And one of the questions was, well, why would she have gone with Miss Norton in the first place?
Mhm.
And one of the theories was that like Miss Norton came across as this like, oh, I'm having troubles with my husband too. Misery loves company,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Why they would have left for Hydro, like a new town,
Mhm.
when like Katie had like a clear travel plan because she was going to visit family. That's the other question. I think Katie might have been duped, being
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
kinda what
like
it seems like.
I'll bring you to the train station or I'll bring you to wherever so that you can for your next stop or something.
And if we think Katie's husband is the accomplice, then maybe Miss Norton was, like, known to the family.
That too. Maybe she already knew her.
So it's not like, "Oh, hey, this strange lady's taking me somewhere." It's like,
Right.
"Oh, like,
Exactly.
friend of my husband is gonna take me here."
Yeah, it's never really talked about
Hmm.
whether or not they knew each other in some capacity.
Yeah.
But one of the theories might be, was it planned by someone else, like her husband? One of the articles said that, like, with the robbery, it was like, oh, Katie opened, like, her pocketbook around Miss Norton and saw she had a lot of money.
Mhm.
It was like $23, which I'm sure in 1905 was,
Was a
like,
ton of money.
rolling in it.
Yeah.
But she left the wedding ring, and it was gold.
But I feel maybe leaving the wedding ring, like, you can't track that cash. Like, if I take your cash, you're not tracking the cash to who it was, but the wedding ring you are,
True.
you know?
Plus, from the way it sounded, it seems like she shot her when, like, if Norton was driving the buggy and Katie was next to her
Mhm.
and she turns and shoots her, oh, that would be behind her left ear, not her right ear. I don't know. Some people think that she was shot and fell out of the wagon,
Mm.
but I don't know.
I don't know.
It was 1905. There's going to be a lot of questions.
Yeah, there are.
Then there's a supernatural angle. Locals have long claimed that the bridge where Katie's body was found is cursed. They say a woman in white walks the banks of Deer Creek at night, searching, crying, disappearing into the mist. Some believe it's Katie still looking for her daughter or for justice. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened in those lost hours between the train station and the shallow grave. So, there's also another legend that might be this place, but for the most part, everyone agrees it's the story of Katie
Katie.
DeWitt James and her murder.
So you know how people are always like, "Oh, the woman in white." It's like, why is she always wearing white? Do you think, okay, you know how they say whatever outfit you die in is going to be your ghost outfit?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if,
Do lose his color?
no,
Oh.
I was going to say, what if as you're like kind of going through the enrollment process when you become a ghost,
The
like
enrollment
where you're going to
process.
be, they're like, you're going to be searching the banks for your daughter, right? And you're like,
The
yeah. And so they're like,
what?
it's the best way to think about it. You're going through the process. It kind of reminds me of like,
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, thank you. But so like they're like, okay, here are your options of dresses, and they're all white dresses because you're going to be like looking for someone, so you get the white dresses.
I think everything just loses its color when you die. That's why your ghost is like gray or white or whatever.
Mm.
So everything loses its color.
And then back then, people were always wearing dresses.
That too.
Hmm.
So
Both very good theories to think about.
absolutely. Especially during their enrollment. Oh man. But I do have the other theory.
Okay, let's hear that one.
So according to kcghost.com, Becky Ray shared that she had always heard stories about Dead Woman's Crossing while she was in college. One story was from an upperclassman that the dead woman was actually a woman passing on the bridge with her baby. And as the two were crossing the bridge, the woman was attacked and her head was cut off.
Oh,
So still decapitated.
right.
The woman was tied between two trees and left on display to anyone who may cross that bridge. The legend went that it took several days before anyone noticed the woman. Her spirit is said to haunt the location looking for either her head or her baby.
So this ghost that we see, does the ghost have a head?
You know, it's a good question. No one ever says.
Huh.
But I feel like because they found her body and her head, maybe they're together.
But if she's always looking for her head.
Well, that's this legend that no one really believes.
Oh, okay.
It's really the other one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think she was decapitated. I think because it took so long for people to find her, decomposition happened and some gnawing
Could have been.
occurred.
Could have been.
So, just saying. But in this one, that's not as legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking for her head.
Okay.
Or her baby. I think if she's looking for the baby, she's got her head.
That's what I would think.
If she's looking for her head, she doesn't have her
She
head.
wouldn't have it, right?
Several people said that they felt cold spots in the river where the woman was supposedly killed. So she also has a couple of experiences herself from the college days, like going out to that bridge. So I put in some of the stories that she told. So one of them, she said, quote, "My first trip to this location was with a car full of friends from the dorm, and I had heard so many scary stories. We were all a bunch of giggling, silly girls. I didn't see a whole lot that time out as I was spooked before we got there. My friend who was driving said, 'Hey, look, there's a foot.' And the girl sitting next to me shoved my head down and screamed for the driver to get out of there. I don't know why that would have happened.
A fear response.
I didn't see anything, so I assumed, of course, that there was either a person hiding or his foot was visible or there was a severed foot there. Once we calmed down, the driver explained that it was merely a foot painted on the road. We went back, and I must admit I was disappointed to see that that's what it was.
Oh my God, that's actually so funny.
So another story. Over the next 4 years, I spent as a student at SWOSU. Don't know what that is.
SWOSU.
Southwest Oklahoma State University.
Oh, is that for real? Did you guess that?
I just guessed that.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. I'll check to see if I'm right later. I visited Dead Woman's many times. Some of the time I went with friends to see if we could find the ghost, and other times we went simply there to relax around a bonfire. I was still a freshman the first time I felt the cold spot. It was a very hot day. Even the river water was warm. However, there was a spot about 16 inches diagonal, which was ice cold. Trees did not shade it, and there was no other explanation for it. But there it was, and all of us felt it.
Ooh, speaking of cold spots, we went on a walk the other day at work, and it's like a little loop we do around the building, and it was really hot that day. And there was one spot on the walk where all of us walked through, and we're like, oh my God, it felt like you were walking through air conditioning. It was so weird. And it's like that feeling you get when you're about to walk into a store or something, you get hit with the air conditioning.
Yeah.
But we were not close to the front door, and we were just straight outside, and we all walked through and we all felt it. I was like, that was really weird. And I'm not even the one who said it, but one of my friends was like, did you guys know that sometimes ghosts give cold spots? And I was like, yes. So it was very weird.
That is strange.
I won't say it was a ghost, but I just thought it was just very odd.
That is odd. Oh, my foot's asleep. Okay. So the last story is a fellow theater student told one of my favorite stories about this place to me. When I was in my junior year, we had a flood that washed out the new bridge. What was left was a very dangerous, immediate drop off the road to the river bottom that had already receded to its usual low state. He was standing on the edge of this broken road, looking down into the riverbed, when he felt himself start to lose balance.
Ooh.
Suddenly, he felt something to be a hand pushing him backwards to stop him from falling off the bridge. If this had actually happened to him, I am sure it was because of the respect we all felt for her in this place, meaning the
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
So from hauntedhouses.com, we do have a couple of reviews
Oh, love it.
of Dead Woman's Crossing. One person said, quote, "Our group visited the location a couple times, and each time some kind of activity happened. The first time I heard a woman ask me, 'What are you doing?' It didn't occur to me at first, but no one was around me. The second time was a little confusing. The EVP of a man gave the demand, 'I will get you,' and the second one was the man saying, 'Leave now.'" But another person with a less exciting experience said, quote, "I checked this out one night. I was out for about 2 hours waiting for something paranormal to happen, but nothing. Almost got hit by a few cars speeding down from the houses on the hill by the bridge and saw a few deer, but that's about it. While I did feel a bit creeped out, it was because I was alone in the dark and one car kept crossing the bridge as if they were watching me. If anyone else goes out themselves, take a friend and do not stand/walk on the bridge without bright or reflective clothes on, just in case." So what I liked about this one is it wasn't one of those usual, I didn't feel anything, ghosts aren't real, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
It was just I didn't feel anything. I was hoping to.
Yeah.
So it's clearly they're still a believer, but it's just nothing happened.
See, I can respect that.
I can respect it too. And they gave a good PSA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get hit by a car.
Yeah. Be smart when you're walking on a dark road at night.
Exactly. In conclusion. And so, Dead Woman's Crossing remains a quiet rural stretch of Oklahoma land hiding a dark and sorrowful tale. A place where history and mystery
Huh?
collide at the edge of Deer Creek under a bridge that still bears the weight of tragedy. Was Katie DeWitt James simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or is there more to her story than the official record ever revealed? Whether you're drawn in by the true crime, the legend, or the whispers of a ghost still crying out for justice, Dead Woman's Crossing is a reminder even the most unassuming places can carry the heaviest shadows. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the strange and the somber. Until next time, stay curious and maybe keep one eye open on the road behind you. Dun dun dun.
Dun.
And that is Dead Woman's Crossing.
I kind of liked this one
Thanks.
because you get like the old timey true crime,
Mhm.
and then you get the like, just like a
And it was
common
like a legit
tale,
story.
but like a fun common tale.
Yeah.
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 I liked it,
Good.
and yeah, legit story. See, those are always good.
Yeah. So,
Would you go here?
no. It's literally named Dead Woman's Crossing. I am a woman. No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
When I get to mine, I'll tell you about it then. Well, I'll just tell you now. I'm covering a hotel. And as I was like looking into this, I was like thinking, say you and I book a hotel. And I think we've already talked about this. And then I realize it's haunted, but we like can't get our money back. I just tell you after the fact that it was haunted because you wouldn't want to know beforehand, right?
No.
Okay. Because this one's like a super haunted hotel in Oklahoma. And I was like, I wonder what Mackenzie would say if we like booked a hotel here. And then I like was looking into it, like booked a room, and then realized it was super haunted.
I think I'd be able to tell.
If it was super haunted?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Because you never talk about like a Marriott or a Hampton Inn being haunted. And so if we just go to some like local hotel, the first thing I'm going to say when I look at it, this place is probably haunted.
When I read my story,
mhm.
you'll think differently.
Is it a Marriott?
It's a Hilton.
Is it Hilton?
It's a Hilton.
All right, I'm ready to eat my words. That's hilarious. Okay, now it's got to be your turn. What spooky tea you pouring, Lauren?
All right, so let's get into this Hilton. So it's the Skirvin Hotel.
Uh-huh.
Today, the Skirvin Hotel.
And you would want me to think that that's not haunted?
Yeah, you would, actually. So it sits in downtown Oklahoma City as the city's oldest hotel, built in the Art Deco architectural style. It is also listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
And
It is-
owned by Hilton.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It has 225 rooms and it's 3 towers of 13 floors each, or technically 14 because we have to skip the 13th floor. So in 1906, William Baker Bill Skirvin moved his family to Oklahoma City. He was a land run participant and wealthy Texas oilman. So according to Google, a land run participant is someone who rushed to claim land in the United States, particularly in the area that would become Oklahoma during events where previously restricted land was open to homesteading on a first-come, first-served basis. Which I think about too. We will never have first-come, first-served basis for land ownership.
Yeah, because now we realize it's wrong to take other people's land.
But also, just like how late in life we are. And also, I'm like, all of the things that people have invented have been invented. We will never be able to come up with a new invention.
I don't think so. I disagree with that one.
Okay, name something that has not been invented yet.
Mm,
But whatever you say, we have it dated that we came up with it on March 30th of 2025.
let's see. Something that should be invented.
So I'll take out the 5 minutes that Mackenzie thought about this.
Well, you put me on the spot.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Okay, well, if you want me to think about my answer or listen to your story, which one?
Okay, listen to my story.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Okay,
So,
I can't do both.
so Skirvin had invested in oil and land, which had increased his wealth exponentially, and he wanted more, of course. So in 1910, he decided to build a hotel, wanting it to be the biggest hotel in the state. Oklahoma City only had one luxury hotel at the time, so Skirvin thought this hotel would be a great investment.
Ooh, an automated machine to change your oil for you so you don't have to bring it in.
I mean, you can change your own oil.
But do we have an automated machine to do it?
You as a human.
That's not an automated machine.
I don't think Shark Tank would go for this.
You didn't say it had to be Shark Tank approved. You just said it couldn't be invented yet. I just came up with something that hadn't been invented yet.
Okay, you fulfill the challenge.
Thank you.
So our man Skirvin named the hotel after himself. He and his family rose.
How original.
I know, and remained in a position of power and high reputation. Skirvin had his hotel. His daughter, Pearl Mesta, became the ambassador to Luxembourg under Harry Truman. The hotel opened.
Oh, nice. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So they're both like high up people.
Yeah, but his last name is Skirvin, and it just makes me think scurvy.
Yeah, it's not a great last name.
No, it sounds trashy. I'm sorry, it is. He probably was problematic. He's a white man from Texas.
He is problematic, don't you worry.
That's why his hotel's haunted.
Actually, yeah.
All right, story's over. Good night.
So the hotel opened on September 26, 1911, and at the time only contained 224 rooms in a 10-story, two-winged tower. A third 12-story wing was added in 1925.
So there's only like, what, 10 rooms of, no, 20 rooms of floor?
Something like that, yeah. Math.
200 rooms just doesn't seem like a lot, but 10 floors seems like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, 224 rooms is a lot. A lot of hotels, if you think about it, have like 20 or 30 rooms. Okay, motels have 20 or 30 rooms. But even hotels like, Joe and I recently stayed at like the Comfort Inn or something, and each floor is like 30 rooms. Oh, I guess that's already 90 there then. Yeah. Huh.
See, sometimes I just have to let you talk it out, and then you'll see I'm right.
It is just the wheels spin. So a third 12-story wing was added in 1925, and then in 1929 to 1930, all the wings were leveled off to 12 floors with a total of 525 rooms. So wild story here, in 1913, it is said that the first manager, Frederick Schirrerubel, well, he shot himself. It was believed to be a suicide until later it was investigated as a murder.
So he didn't shoot himself?
No, but that's what they thought at first.
Oh.
A rigged roulette wheel and prohibition hijinks often led to Wild West-style gunfights to take place inside of the hotel.
Damn.
Then during Prohibition, the hotel became a popular speakeasy. In 1945...
And his daughter got a position...
High society doesn't have rules, Mackenzie.
I know.
In 1945, the hotel was sold to local hotelier Dan James. Over the years, he did many renovations where he added many new amenities to include air conditioning, a new swimming pool, and new furniture to the luxury rooms.
Got that AC.
They called it something like cold air or like something,
I mean,
which is what it is.
I saw a great TikTok where the guy was like, people are always asking, like, what are you going to do in an apocalypse? He's like, as soon as I run out of AC and no longer have that, I'm dying. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not trying to survive anywhere that doesn't have indoor plumbing and electricity.
Good point.
So I'm going to go.
It'll be my time.
I'm going to go.
It hosted many notable figures such as Harry Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Elvis, Frank Sinatra, Jimmy Hoffa, Roger Staubach.
Isn't that a mob guy that disappeared that they think is buried under Giant Stadium?
I don't know. That's fun. Mikhail Baryshnikovich and Bob Hope. But over the years, due to low occupancy, the hotel closed down in 1988 and sat abandoned for 19 years. In 2007, the Skirvin Hotel was renovated and reopened on February 26th as part of the Hilton chain of hotels. The renovations restored the original exterior finish, installed historically accurate windows, reconfigured guest rooms, and added new guest elevators. The larger rooms brought the number of rooms down to 225, with 22,000 square feet of meeting rooms and common areas.
Wait. They went from 500 to 225?
Mm-hmm. They made the rooms bigger. So
holy shit, they cut it in half.
If one had been like one small room, now one room is like two of those small rooms to make it a bigger room. And then some of those rooms became meeting rooms and common areas. So yeah, it dropped from 500 something rooms down to 225.
And I do wonder if like the bigger rooms are now what we would look at as standard size.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this hotel has also somehow gotten the name of being like the NBA's haunted hotel.
The NBA?
Yeah, like the National Basketball Association.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
As in it is haunted by NBA players?
No, it is haunted to NBA players. Like many NBA players have had hauntings here.
Oh, interesting.
So, the hauntings at the hotel are plentiful, and most seem to revolve around the spirit known as Effie. So Effie, like a cute girl's name.
Like from Hunger Games.
Sure.
Is it one letter name, Effie?
I think so. One of the people the main lady who
Yeah, the
called the names.
lady who, like, District 12, she, like, pulled the
Yeah,
names.
I think so. Yeah. So Effie's story goes that the hotel's original owner, W.B. Skirvin, had an affair with a maid of the hotel named Effie. This affair led to pregnancy. Skirvy knew that if word got out, his name and the name of his hotel would be ruined.
And so he killed her.
So in order to protect his reputation and avoid a scandal, Skirvin locked Effie in room 1015, which is now known as the most haunted room in the hotel. Effie was
Every time I hear of a haunted hotel, I think of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
with their haunted hotel episode. Effie was forced to remain in the room. She gave birth in the room and slowly started to go insane. Faced with no other choice, Effie jumped out
At
of the...
least wait until she's showing.
She was showing, and then he put her in the room, and then she gave birth, and he kept her in there.
Oh, so he didn't put her in there for 9 months.
No.
Oh.
But, like,
Still,
probably, whenever you find out you're pregnant in those days. So faced with
when you're showing.
Yeah, exactly. Faced with no other choice, Effie jumped out of the room's window, clutching her baby in her arms, killing herself and the baby.
Oh.
To avoid negative press attention, the death was written off as a suicide by a saleswoman. Now, many people who visit the hotel, along with many famous visitors, say that they have had an experience with a, quote, horny Effie.
So basically what you're trying to say is a bunch of basketball players are on the road, and to explain to their wives why they smell of someone else's perfume, it was just the horny ghost.
Male guests have said that they have been propositioned by a female's voice. Some have reported seeing the apparition of a naked woman while they were in the shower, who sometimes enters the shower after them, or other times just appears next to them in the shower.
It wasn't me. They got me in the shower. It wasn't me.
Another man went with his wife in 2007, a week before it officially opened. They were like getting a tour or whatever. The man and his wife were treated to a tour of the finished rooms. One set of the rooms had been cleared out but was locked with access restricted to only the manager and owners. But when they entered, the TV was on and a softcore porn movie was playing. The security guard said that in 1994, he was on the 8th floor when Effie revealed herself to him through the scent of lavender perfume.
Oh, perfume! I'm telling you.
He said that on one occasion.
I smell like another woman's perfume. It's the ghost, honey.
It's the ghost, I promise.
Oh my God.
He said that on one occasion, she told the guard that she wanted him to join her in the afterlife. She manifested in his truck as he was driving and held the driver's leg down to the gas pedal, trying to make him crash.
Bullshit.
There are actually many basketball teams who have experiences with Effie. The most notable experiences occurred in 2010. The first one happened to the New York Knicks. So they had lost their game to the Oklahoma City Thunder, another basketball team, and blamed their loss on the hauntings of the hotel that they had experienced the night before.
Of course, blaming a woman.
So Ed Curry, who was 7 feet tall, even went to his teammate Nate Robinson's room to stay the night instead of being alone because the noises he was hearing throughout the night and because he felt he couldn't survive the night alone in his room. He was staying in one of
the temptation of fucking a ghost.
No, he was just scared. He didn't have that experience. He was staying in one of the rooms on the 10th floor and all night long was hearing creaks and groans. He claimed he got no sleep.
It was Effie effing off.
He claimed he never got to sleep for more than 2 hours while in the room. The Chicago Bulls, another basketball team, stayed here in 2010 as well.
I love how you have to clarify that the Chicago Bulls are another basketball team.
Well, it's for people who don't live in the U.S., who might not know what basketball is. I don't know. They might not.
They don't live under a rock, Lauren.
I don't know what
they have basketball in other countries.
But they might not know that the Bulls are a team of like a basketball team here. I'm being inclusive. Like, if someone told me, like, in another country, they're like, oh, the whatever team, and they're like, oh, it's rugby. Everyone knows rugby. I wouldn't know what the rugby teams are.
Well, I think it's because you started off with saying basketball. I think it can go without saying.
I just wanted people to be sure. Okay. I'm just being inclusive of everyone.
Do you know who was on the Chicago Bulls?
No. Some people who I'm going to list in my story.
Okay.
Why? Who, Mackenzie?
Michael Jordan.
Oh. I'm not a sport person.
I know. That's why this is funny. I'm trying to be inclusive. You didn't know. That's why.
Well, I knew the Bulls were a basketball team, but I'm just including the basketball team for other people if they didn't know.
You're so nice.
Thank you. That's all I needed. I'm going to move on with my story. So in 2010, they reported hearing doors slamming shut on their own and strange noises outside of their rooms. Meta World Peace, previously known as Meta Sandiford Artest or Ron Artest.
I'm so glad they changed their name.
To Meta World Peace?
Yeah.
Okay, what team was he part of?
Meta World Peace?
Uh-huh.
That's a person?
Yes! Ron Artest.
I don't know.
He was a forward for the Lakers.
Okay.
So see, you didn't know that one.
No, I
And I
didn't.
explained it in my notes for you, as I didn't know either.
I didn't even realize that that was a person. That sounds like the name of an
Okay.
organization.
I didn't either. And as I was reading this article, it was talking about world peace. And I was like, who the hell is this?
So this man changed his name to Meta World Peace.
Because here, I have the reason why. He got into a really bad fight. It was like known as, people who watch sports are screaming at me, but there was this really, really bad fight that happened. Some guy in the audience had thrown something at him during one of the games. He climbed up this. Okay, the people. He climbed up the stands to get to this fan, and it started this huge brawl. It's like the something brawl.
Okay.
And so because of this violence, he changed his name to World Peace to promote that violence should not be the answer.
That's so dumb.
So our man World Peace, he had an Effie experience in 2016. He told the Orange County Register, quote, "The ghosts are all over me. I just accepted it. They touched me all over the place. I'm taking one of the ghosts to court for touching me in the wrong places." End quote. Your face. Yeah. In January 2019, Brooklyn Nets basketball star Kyrie Irving announced that he was producing a feature film about the perpetuated paranormal activity at the hotel with Ron Howard's Imagine Entertainment. But the project never seems to have been completed. So this one experience happened to someone who works for an NBA team but wanted to be kept anonymous. They were staying at the Skirvin before a game on the 10th floor, most haunted floor. It was the middle of the night around 2 a.m. and the person had woken up to use the bathroom. When they were done, they got back under the covers. That is when they noticed something. Standing at the foot of their bed was a woman. Quote, "I could still hear the toilet refilling with water, and here was this person who had gotten into my room," he explains dramatically as he relives the moment.
I would love for there to be a naked ghost that is coming on to men. But it also just sounds like, hey man, if you need to,
use the ghost.
Use the ghost. They believe it every time. Like, that's all I can imagine right now.
So continuing on, quote, "I thought I should grab my phone and call someone, so I looked for it next to me on the bed, and I noticed it's past 2 a.m. Then just as I turned back to look at her, she's gone from where she was and is now staring right at me just inches away from my face at the side of my bed."
No, thank you.
The person was paralyzed with fear. The figure then walked straight through both the nightstand and wall and disappeared. The next morning, that person went to the team's head coach and asked if they had any say about picking a different place to stay before games.
I bet this is one of the players.
The coach asked why, and our anonymous person told the coach about what they had experienced the night before. The coach said that he too, while more benign, had an experience. His involved repeated loud knocks on his door. When he went to answer, no one was there and no one was in the hallway. In 2013, a player of the Phoenix Suns and later the Clippers, Wesley Johnson, said that he awoke to find his bathroom door closed and the tub inexplicably filled with water. Tim Hardaway Jr., who played for the Dallas Mavericks when this happened, also had some things to say about his experience at the hotel. A quote from him was, quote, "Straight up, the Skirvin is haunted, y'all." He said that walking in, the vibe is just creepy and it looks spooky, which is why I say to you, even though it's a Hilton, you'd walk in and be like, nah.
Yeah.
He said while laying in bed at night, he heard a loud scratching coming from the walls and then heard whispers. He then started to hear footsteps out in the hall. The footsteps sounded like they were right outside of his door. Hardaway got so freaked out that he yanked open his hotel room door and absolutely no one was in the hallway. He said that it is well known that when a team is booked to stay at the Skirvin, many players will use their own money to book rooms at other non-haunted hotels.
That's so fucking funny.
Like Taj Gibson and Lou Williams, who wouldn't even go into the hotel. Gibson claimed that his bathroom door mysteriously slammed shut in the middle of the night.
Nope. That is a scene in Final Destination, and then guess what happens right afterwards? He fucking dies.
Williams said that his practice gear mysteriously transported from the hallway into his locked hotel room. Derrick Rose, who forced his teammate James Johnson to share a room with him.
I would just love to see these 6 foot plus tall, fit men
are sharing rooms with each other because they're so afraid.
Like, that's hilarious.
Hardaway went on to say that thinking about it, quote, "I don't think any team I've been on that stayed at the Skirvin has won."
Ooh.
So going off of his statement, I looked more into this. So we have the Knicks losing to the Thunder in 2010. And I tried to find the article. So I had found an article before, but I didn't use it because it was some of the same information. But then I tried to find it again and I couldn't. But it mentioned a large number of teams who had stayed in the hotel and then ended up losing the game that they played the next day.
Ooh.
Like, even if it was a team who was predicted against all odds to win, they would still end up losing.
So I'm sure Oklahoma Thunder wants them to stay in that hotel.
Right. Like, they're like, go stay there. Like, it's a
Yeah.
great hotel. Petra Germany, the hotel's current, as of 2021, artist in residence, who makes cosplay weapons and armor, said, quote, "I don't think it's haunted. I think NBA players are just a bunch of sissies." And more about Effie, though Skirvin was known to be a notorious womanizer and drinker, and the 10th floor was known to be where he partook in his gambling and other vices, there is no real-life evidence corresponding to the Effie story or even an Effie in general.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It is believed that Skirvin and his assistant and bookkeeper, Mabel Lutney, were having an affair, but she outlived him.
What's her name?
Mabel Lutney. Or
That's-
Lutty.
Okay, that's better.
Luty.
Lutty.
Almost like slutty. No, I'm just kidding. But she outlived him, so she was never locked in a room and jumped to her death.
That's good.
So whether Effie is real or not, she is probably one of the most popular ghosts in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The Thunder likes to say, they're like, yeah, she's on our team.
I mean, she seems like it. It's like they send in some sort of like siren mistress ghost thing to like mess with the juju of the other team. And then look at that, they lose.
But it's not only room 1015 that is haunted. Those who work at the hotel have experienced many hauntings. They have seen objects move on their own and have heard strange noises at night. Other visitors have reported lights flickering at night and closet doors slamming unexpectedly. There are also creaking doors. LOL. Some have reported hearing ghostly laughter. The words "help me" have been known to appear on foggy bathroom mirrors.
No.
There's actually a way I think you can recreate that. If you take a bar of soap and you write on a mirror, when it fogs up, that part won't be fogged up.
Why would I want to do that?
No, but I'm saying that could be what happened here.
Why would somebody do that?
So that people think this hotel is haunted with someone writing "help me." Susan Riley, the hotel's in-house historian and skeptic, said that she would often hear a baby crying during her shifts until she realized that when a side door was opened, it let in wind that made a crying sound as it entered the building. Many other guests have reported hearing an infant crying at night. Bill Simmons from
But it's the wind.
Well, Bill Simmons from ESPN was one of these. He said that he heard a baby crying near the window of his 10th floor room around 4:30 a.m. He said he got the distinct feeling that someone else was in the room with him. He also said that the crying was urgent, so he jumped up and turned on the light. The crying immediately stopped. But Riley did say that a woman in red is said to lurk in the hallways. We don't have any other stories about her.
She's different, not a woman in white.
I know. Riley also said that there's a lot of activity in the Venetian room, an ornate ballroom on the top floor. She explained how she would set up banquets in the room only to return the next morning to find tables and place settings disorganized.
That's so messed up.
She
did such hard work.
She wondered whether it could be explained by a recent uptick in earthquakes instead. Ma'am.
No.
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 Tanya McCoy, a ghost hunter who founded the Oklahoma Paranormal Association, came to the hotel to look around and do a little ghost hunting. On her phone, she used the GhostTube SLS app. One of the features that the app does is that it can capture ghosts in the form of stick figure. The app captured a green stick figure outline sitting in the baby carriage, but the carriage was empty to the naked eye. She said that a spirit was sitting in the stroller. She also had another app open that allows the spirit to attach itself to different frequencies and communicate intelligently in slow drips of language to that text box, so like a spirit box. But instead of the words coming out, you see the text. The words "get out" appeared on the screen. I think I told you that happened once. I was at, it was this old house in Gainesville, like Manassas area, and we were doing an investigation. I was in a room with a really cute guy, and we were like chatting, and the little box said "flirt," and I was like, ooh, no.
Called out by a ghost.
I know. So as McCoy was walking down the hallway, she felt a temperature shift. She said it was she said it was an adult ghost.
How does she know?
I don't know.
I thought it was in a baby carriage.
No, this is another one.
Oh.
Now she's walking down the hall and there's another ghost. The voice box then said "sit." So using GhostTube SLS, McCoy saw a stick figure outline sitting on a jade chair by the elevators. McCoy said that it was a man in his late 20s named Charles. I guess she's like a medium. Charles had been a contractor downtown pre-1950. She said that she then felt a pain at the back of her head. Often, she explained, ghosts would like to indicate to the living how they died. So he died some
No, thank you.
head thing. People have reported feeling that
You
they were...
just tell me. Words are powerful.
I died by choking instead of choking you.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Melissa Caputo, The Long Island medium. What's her name? That's how she, like, gets her things. She's like, I can't breathe. She's like, I'm feeling like I'm being choked. So, like, did someone die in your family from, like, something like that? Yeah. People have reported feeling that they were unable to breathe while on the 10th floor. Later, they noticed what looked like handprints around their neck.
When I tell you one of the creepiest things in the elevator at work is seeing little tiny handprints on the doors.
That's actually really creepy.
It's really creepy.
Visitors have also reported hearing a male voice calling out their names. Though overall,
I'd love to hear a male voice calling out my name.
Even when you're by yourself in a hotel room?
No.
I take it back.
Not in that specific setting. Also, why isn't there like a hot male ghost that's messing with women? Why don't we get
Maybe because the male ghost has learned about consent.
Nah. No way.
So overall, the hotel doesn't really lean into many of the hauntings. The Red Piano Lounge, located in the lobby, does. They have a host of ghost-themed cocktails that you can enjoy while sitting in a haunted hotel.
We love when people lean.
I do too.
Into the spooky.
There were a lot of people who would, like, reach out to the hotel and be like, okay, tell us the haunted. And they're like, it's not haunted. Like, we don't know what you're talking
Don't
about.
be lame.
But yeah, so that's the Skirvin Hotel in Oklahoma.
Well, we are going to skirt right past it.
But see, so now you can't use well, if it's a Hilton, it's not haunted.
Yeah, but it's probably called the Skirvin, not the Hilton.
It's probably like the Skirvin owned by Hilton. Like, one of those kinds of things.
Like, I highly doubt if we stayed at like a DoubleTree.
Candlelight suites.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think I'd stay here either.
No.
But then another girl, there were like a couple like bloggers who have gone and they went and they're like, oh, it's not haunted. They're like, it's creepy. It's a creepy vibe, but it's not haunted.
Creepy or haunted. Both not good.
But it's also women too who are saying it's not haunted. So maybe Effie doesn't really like go after women.
Obviously.
She just like is kind of like
She's
that to
not
men.
a girl's girl.
She's not a girl's girl.
And I really have to pee.
Okay, well.
So we need to finish this up because I got to go potty.
Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed our 4-year anniversary episode.
Yes.
And email us if you have any.
Getting ready to pee my pants.
If you have anything to tell us, email us to scarystatepodcast@gmail.com. So before Mackenzie dies, stay scary.
Stay safe.